What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Real Fans FC. We've been gone for a little bit, but we are back. Me and Adam back in the flesh, ready to talk some footy from all around the world, and of course, here in our home of the United States. Adam, how you feeling today after this little bit of a break? A lot happened since we last talked.
Yeah. Well, I couldn't be better. I mean, we're Leagues Cup champions. I mean, how
Came
much
back with
better?
silverware.
How much better could that kind of break be?
Dude.
But yeah, it's all good. You know, we're trying to get episodes out because there's been so much going on. But you know, it's just been kind of hectic for all of us. I've been out of town for 2 weeks. On top of that, still watching. You know, didn't miss out, and I'll keep myself busy. But you know, gotta keep watching the footy.
Yeah. Before we get into, so we're gonna start off with like a Leagues Cup recap. We're a little bit behind, but obviously we talk about it. It feels like so long ago, but it was really just hasn't even been a week. But
No, not
I
even
do
a
just want
week.
to talk about like the scenes of like how you felt. So for me personally, I've been unfortunately born or blessed. I don't know. I don't know how to explain it, but I've unfortunately grown up always liking shitty teams. I don't know what it was about it. I mean, teams that I'm genuinely passionate about. Like, I root for Barcelona, but I'm not going to say I'm a diehard Barcelona. Like when I watch European soccer, I root for them. Um and so really Miami's the first team out of all the sports I watched that has actually won a championship during a time that I've actually cared about them. Like, the Marlins, I was too young for it. Didn't really know. The Heat, I didn't really care too much of basketball about at the time, like I do more so now. Panthers never won it. Jaguars never won it. The only team that I ever actually watched that actually won something was North Carolina basketball. That was about it. So and that was when I was a really little kid in like 2004, like 7 or 8 years old or whatever, something like that. And man, like I went to tears, like honestly, like I couldn't believe it, especially after everything this club and what we've had to endure as fans in this short history. Like I know it's not that bad. There's worse shit out there. Like, there's teams with 50-year droughts or whatever. But like
Century
man,
droughts. I mean, look
dude,
what the fucking Cubs had to deal with.
yeah. And like, so for me, it's just like my whole life, I've just known like shitty teams. I've always seen greatness from afar. I've never actually seen like be a part of a great team. And just like, and then, when I picked up Inter Miami as my new like team that I root for and like, my number one team, it kind of was more of the same. We came in, I mean, starting off in 2014 when they first announced the team, we went through 6 years of no team because they couldn't get a stadium. They couldn't do anything. MLS wouldn't give them a team if they didn't have a stadium. So we went through years and years and years of us promising. I remember saying that we're going to first start playing in 2016. Then it was 2018. And now it was finally 2020 where they got a temporary stadium and they got a spot where they're going to build a permanent one. And then 2020 hits and then COVID. So you couldn't even really go to the game. So I wasn't able to really go to any of the games. And then finally late 2021 season, we're finally able to go and like, boom, we're here. I went to the first game where they did full capacity, which was against Orlando. I'll never forget that game. That was my first Inter Miami game. So, this has been a long journey. I haven't been just like, obviously if you guys follow the show, we've been Miami fans since day one. So, this moment means even especially more, I feel like, to the day oneers out there who saw all the shit this team went through between the sanctions and not re-signing players, and then literally this season being the worst team in the league, and then we finally lift trophies. But I mean, how were you feeling that day, man? Like
I would say,
I was literally putting
yeah,
tears. I couldn't believe it.
I was the same way for slightly similar yet slightly different reason. To me, it goes even before the announcement of the club. For me, it was you can kind of tell something special was going to happen because, at least for me, and rooting for this team, because when I went to, I lived in Orlando for about 5 years. There was no Inter Miami. It wasn't there were rumors and there were things. Oh, where's, because everybody knew Beckham after he signed that LA Galaxy contract. They knew he was going to get a new team, and so since kind of that day, it was always in the back of my mind that Miami was going to be that team. It just seemed right. It just made sense. Also, that where we play in our temporary stadium of Drive Pink used to be Lockhart Stadium, where the old Fort Lauderdale Strikers played. Been to those games too, and that was the local club. And they were never really that great in the times that I've went to see them. So it's not like I
Yeah.
had much success there either. So for me, it's not about the three seasons working for the club. It's more than that. It's having that as that specific ground as the place that I went to see local professional soccer, and going to Orlando and having this weird wall in my mind that said you are not going to support Orlando no matter how many years you live in that city. And as
Yeah.
much as I love UCF and I root for them, and everything, um, it just didn't happen because I knew Miami was coming. And then so when they announced it, obviously it solidified that. So for me, it's more than just the few years that I've even been working for the club, or the few years, the couple years extra that we've even been around. It's kind of all the way back to just originally seeing soccer games in that stadium, to the fact that in next week we'll be presenting a trophy in that ground to all the fans. So
A
I think
legitimate
everyone has,
trophy too.
and I think everyone has different. Everyone's gonna have different reasons um, for being happy, but they are all connected in the same, you know, the same journey is what I'm saying. It may be the reasons and the specifics may be different, but I think we all shared the journey, um, and that's what makes it really special. Is how this happened.
Yeah, I think too, especially to the old heads that are out there that were around for like the original
The
Fort
original
Lauderdale
strikers
Strikers
too.
back in the 70s. It's like, man, I almost rather have a team that's been bad for 30, 40 years and at least know that I've had a team that I was always able to go to and see professional. Like, man, down here, like we didn't see anything. I mean, like the closest we got, like you had the Fort Lauderdale Strikers. For me, I had the Jacksonville Armada, which actually played in the same league as the Strikers at one point in the reincarnation of the NASL. So, and then, but then, like the people that were here for the Miami Fusion, the original Miami MLS team that eventually then folded and then didn't come back till later. And then like I said, I mean, I couldn't even imagine being like David Beckham when he first cashed that in. I think it was 2013, 2014, and like dealing with Miami politicians, like, oh my God, like the
And it's not
nightmare.
even his
And then
fault,
just
because anybody who knows Miami knows the
how
sour
much
taste
corruption
in their
there's.
mouth because of the old ownership group of the Marlins and how that stadium came to be. There's nothing he can do about it. It was just, that I mean, that's just a legendary story. The whole Miami Marlins and that whole stadium. Anybody who knows anything about it knows that that's probably one of the biggest, you know, it's one of the biggest corrupt projects in modern American history in terms of just like public projects. It really is
Yeah,
that
like a
bad.
sporting venue.
Um,
Yeah, it was really
like the
bad.
only the only positive from that is that you have a nice place, I guess, out of it. It's not like they took your money and ran. I mean, even though that is what they did, they took the money and ran. At least we still get to go to the stadium, and it's not like they can
And it's a
pack it
world
up and
class stadium.
it's not like they can pack it up and take it somewhere else. So that's but he walked into that situation. Um, so
But dude,
that
even
that
all
that
the players, I mean not players, all
but
the
it's like,
fans that
yeah, so it's
were
all that
pushing.
bullshit. And I think another thing that probably well, definitely accounts for it, but I'm probably thinking people don't really think of it consciously as the reason why it was such an emotional. I mean, how about, you know, not just winning it in the way we did, but the probably one of the most epic penalty shootouts you're ever gonna see. Also, I mean, you gotta make. You're putting us after all the bullshit. You're gonna put us through one of those too, to the point where you're
Yeah.
making it up to the goalies. I
So
mean,
so let's
absolutely legendary.
yeah. So let's transition to like the recap of the game itself. So obviously played at Nashville. Nashville, our sister franchise, that expansion franchise
Which
that
was
joined the
also
league in
fitting.
2020.
Very
Yeah,
fitting to have a final
2020.
like that. I was very happy. I do want to mention that before we move in, that's it did seem kind of cool that the
And
teams, even though they're very different teams, coming in at the same time, both standing at the top together was it just seemed very fitting.
yeah, and you're talking about two teams since the expansion, since them coming in, took pretty much two different routes. You have a Nashville who took the more, I would say blue collar kind of no name approach and kind of, built a team and it was successful. I mean, they made the playoffs every season. They've been a dangerous team since they came in. And then you have us who pretty much, for lack of a better word, shit the bed. We went through scandals, we've gone through three different coaches now, like, you know, didn't really have DP situations, loaning out players, messing with the set, like so many different issues. We went the complete opposite of being a horrible build from the jump. And this is pretty much a reset to Nashville, like knowing how to do things right off the jump. But so yeah, we come into this game, obviously Nashville with the reigning MVP, Hani Mukhtar, which you talked about earlier in the season, potentially going for back-to-back MVPs if Messi doesn't, interfere with that, which we could talk about that at a later date, but that could be a conversation that could be kind of interesting. Like if Messi's to continue on this role, like can you
Well,
give
I
him
mean,
MVP only in 12 games?
if he
But
play if he plays the way he's playing, the way he played in the League's Cup, then I'm sorry. I know it sucks, but the answer is yes. I mean, it's just true. I mean, you know that. You know if he's
yeah,
going to do what he did in the League's Cup in the next 12 games in the league, that they kind of have to give him the fucking MVP. I mean, I'm sorry.
yeah.
It's just I know it feels bad for someone like Mukhtar, but it's not like it's like, oh, they have to. It's because it's actually
Unless
fucking
he goes on a
deserved.
tear,
Well, yeah,
unless
of
Mukhtar
course.
continues to
Of
go on a
course,
tear.
he can make it tough for Messi, that's for sure. But if he does that the same thing. I mean,
But
I'm sorry. And people aren't going to argue with that either. They're going to say, yeah, he deserved it, even in 12 games.
so we kind of look at like Miami's path and Nashville's path. So Miami, I would say, had a pretty easy path for the most part. I mean, I would say the toughest task that Miami was supposed to face was Philadelphia. Philadelphia ended up, not showing up. Thought they could. They got a little too cute. So I mean, went from Cruz Azul, played Atlanta, dominated Atlanta, went to Orlando. Orlando was a tough game, but they were able to grind it out. Then Dallas was on the edge of your seat type of game, a back and forth. They end up going to shootout. They win that, dominate Charlotte. You then go to Philadelphia, dominate Philadelphia. Meanwhile, on Nashville side, Nashville went through the gauntlet. Nashville took on they played Toluca. They beat Club America.
Club
They
America.
beat
They
Minnesota.
thrashed Minnesota, Monterrey.
And then they played Monterrey. I mean, you went through two of the top like clubs in Mexico and then a really solid team in Minnesota. I mean, they went through the gauntlet and then they pushed Miami to the limit. I would say that first half, I think Nashville played the better game. I think Nashville should have won the game, but the tough part is when you have Messi, all it takes is that one moment of magic. And that's the beautiful thing about football is like, all it takes is that one moment, at the end of the day,
And that's what he
you get
had.
that one goal.
And that's what separated them at halftime.
And I think, they kind of shut down Messi. Messi didn't do a whole lot outside of that one goal. But like I said, that's all it takes. I thought Nashville pretty much played. And I would say the last 30 minutes, most of the second half of that Nashville game, I think Mukhtar was the best player on the field. Like he was playing out of his mind. He was playing really good. And then best field player on the field, but Drake Callender was making saves to keep the team in. I mean, he had incredible moments throughout that game, especially that one. play towards the end when uh, Nashville kills us in transition. Mukhtar's coming in, passes off to Sam Surridge, their new DP signing from Nottingham. And then he tries to do a low cross to the back post, and Drake cleans it up. So, I mean, Nashville kind of laid out the blueprint of how to actually beat us. Play a low block, plays in transition. We don't have the speed on defense. And, I was banging this drum before Busquets even came, is that Busquets is not going to be a CDM. We're going to need to have a double pivot and have another CDM next to him because the dude's just not running back. And even if he does, he can't catch up. And that's why teams have been able to murder us on transition. And the only reason why we probably are where we are right now is because of Drake Callender pulling off miraculous saves here and there, even with Messi and even before Messi. So, yeah, I mean, anything from the regulation game, any standout players to you on Miami or even Nashville side?
Well, shit.
I think
for the
Miami was
Nashville
pretty
game,
much-
and I'm gonna give you a
so much.
shocker on here. I'm sure. I think, and if you disagree with me, I think you're crazy and I do want to bring this up only because you've been critical of him. Maybe not critical of him, but expressed concern in the past. Kristoff, I think he had, especially the first half, was out. He played out of his mind. I think he was full sprint to every defensive challenge. He was winning, I would say, like 80% of the duels. He was distributing the ball extremely well and not afraid to step forward and push the line forward. I thought he had his best game in an Inter Miami shirt, for sure. But that first half I thought was something else. I mean, he he was looking like the guy who has a future in Europe, not Kamal Miller, even though Kamal Miller's been great. So and there were some other players too. Messi was Messi. He had that moment. I think Jordi Alba had a pretty consistent game. Robert Taylor was also pretty good. Doing
I
his
don't want to
best there.
say anybody's played bad. I don't think anybody played bad, but I thought they were contained. I think Nashville is really good at containing him. And I agree. I agree with you, the Kristoff thing. I don't remember being super critical. I think
that's what I was saying. I didn't want to say you were critical. I think you expressed concern. Like, he was someone that you were concerned about. You never talked bad about him or anything, or said that he's going to be the reason we lose. But it was definitely more of a, can he be that guy who you can depend on when you need him? And I didn't think that was unfair to question that, but boy, oh boy, even me thinking, it's international experience. I always thought he was pretty solid, consistent player. I didn't think he was the kind of guy who was going to really give you bad games. To come out and have a game where I'm noticing him and going, damn, Kristoff, you're really going out for this game. Like,
no, he went
not just going
really
for the
well.
duels, but winning the duels, making some good tackles and on the ball, pushing up and kind of, in a way playing like next to Busquets, and distributing and helping push that ball up to the midfielders and the attackers. So he was definitely someone that I think deserved, because people aren't going to talk too much. I mean, with all the Messi talk and even talk about Robert Taylor, Campana scoring in the last games, which we'll talk about, Drake Callender, winning goalkeeper of the tournament, and rightfully so. So I feel like Kristoff deserves a shout as well. I mean, that was a great performance from him, and he's someone that I thought would always be solid, but I didn't think he would have games for us where he's like, oh wow, he's playing really good. So it was nice to see, and it was good that he, the old man still got it. He's not that old. He's only 32. But
he looks
but
old.
He mean, he's got gray hair. He looks freaking ancient. Dude looks like the only grandpa on the team, and yet he's 32 years old. I mean, freaking Yedlin's 2 years younger than him, and Yedlin looks like he could be his son.
Yeah. I thought Kristoff was class. I thought he played really well, especially in the Philly game. I think the Philly game was even better than the Nashville game. I thought he played amazing in the Philly game, and I thought
something happened. He just woke up.
Game.
He was. I mean, he was even better. I mean, I think statistically he was
really
even better, but he wowed me in the Nashville game because I didn't expect it. So that's why I was going to say, like, in the Nashville game, I didn't expect it. And it was a tougher game for us. So when you're finding things hard to score and you're not putting 4 goals past teams like we did against Philadelphia and like we did against Charlotte, you're going to notice more of like the defenders and things like that. So he was definitely someone I noticed more in the Nashville game.
Yeah, he played really
the
well. He
Philadelphia
just
game,
needed. I was gonna say
like
he played really well, but
he was. It just he didn't, yeah, because it's like a 4-1 game. He's not going to stand out. He was great statistically. He was better, I think, in the in Philadelphia game. I don't even think there's a doubt about that. He had an assist, but for some reason, like even when Nashville looked good, he was the one guy on that back line. Yedlin I think had a poor game for his day. He's stepped up, Yedlin. But he had a poor game against Nashville, and I think Kristoff, the reason why his game was also good against Nashville is he was covering for that. Whereas in Philadelphia,
I think the one thing
you had
with
you had
Kristoff,
pretty much the whole team playing well, so it's not like you can pick him out and be like, oh yeah. But yeah, I think
I think the one thing with
his assist
Kristoff
in the
is
first
Kristoff
minute,
is
the
really
first few minutes for
solid.
the Philadelphia game was great. But yeah, again, Kristoff, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I think the one thing with Kristoff, he's been really solid, and I think he's really good playing out of the back. People say that our center backs are bad, and
Well,
I feel like
that's
it's a pretty entry level like thing to say, because if you really look and see why this is the case, I mean, teams are playing transition on us, and look, that that's kind of the sacrifice you're going to have to make when you put in a player like Busquets. Like the problem is when you have, and if you don't put a, and we're going to talk about this for the Cincinnati game, especially when you don't put a double pivot next to him, you're putting so much stress on these 2 center backs, and then on top of that, Tata plays really high with his fullbacks. I mean, Alba and Yedlin are always super high, so you're putting Kristoff and Miller in an island. So when we have possession, those guys are great. I think Miller does a great job pushing forward. I think he can really move the ball forward. And then Kristoff, I think, is very good at his long balls. And yeah, I think his clearances have been really well. And even though he's slow, I think he's done a decently good job at least getting back, even if the player's faster. And that's his biggest weak side, is that he's just not fast enough. And when you're playing this possession ball and all teams are going to do is counter you, you're going to have center backs that can run, and Kristoff is not necessarily that. If we had a Gregory back, and which looks like we should be having him soon, I think it's going to be a little less stress, and people aren't going to put too much emphasis on like, oh, our center backs aren't good, our center backs aren't good, our center backs aren't good. Because I've been seeing that a lot. And look, don't get me wrong, they're not all-star center backs. I think they're very good. I think they're one of the best center back duos in the league. I think.
You have Kamal Miller, who will be in Europe, or could be in Europe at least.
Dude, his transfer value market right now is 5 million euros, and that's just those are always super low compared to what they actually.
Well, because
he's probably going to be a free agent.
It's in America.
But then you have Kristoff, who literally has Champions League experience, has national team experience, and he's played at the highest level. Maybe not in the top 5 league, but I mean, he's consistently gone against some of the best teams in the world.
And absolutely. See, that's the thing. Like that, they may not be. Yeah, that's a good point. They may not be a top league, but I mean,
he's going against the best attackers in the world. There's nothing in the MLS he hasn't seen.
He's playing in the these teams, like in the top teams in the Ukrainian. Come on, if you're watching us and you're a fan of Champions League, then Shakhtar Donetsk, which is where Kristoff is from, and Dynamo Kiev. You know those teams because they're in the Champions League year in and year out.
And he's gone against the best attackers the world year in and year out offered.
Year in and year out.
And obviously,
and that's where he's played his
teams that have played super
224 appearances over 12 years of his career. With Ukraine over 30 caps. That's why I say he's consistent. He's he's not going to blow it for you. He's not going to be the reason why like you lose.
Yeah, there's
But
never
I
been a
didn't.
blunder. That's the
But
thing.
I
Those
didn't
two guys have
expect
never made a
him.
blunder.
Yeah, but I
They're
didn't
just
expect
slow.
him to. And like Kamal Miller, like he's been very good with penalties as well.
Yeah. Yeah, they're just slow. I think that's the issue. And people see how slow they are and they just think they're bad. But I don't think they're bad. I think, if anything, this possession based game works for them the best. The only problem is, I think, like I said, I think you need another defensive midfield. And I think Arroyo has done a good job at doing that and has been helping.
Yeah, you got
But
to give him
Arroyo's
credit. They
only so
brought him in
good. I
because
don't
they
think
had
Arroyo's.
to. And he
Yeah, and I
has
think
filled in.
Arroyo's.
He was never going to be their first choice.
Yeah, I think he's solid. I think he's held up well. I think we're definitely going to get better with Gregory. And I think with Gregory coming back, the center backs are going to look better. I think they're just, a lot of the times they're put on an island and then people blame them. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, at the same time, like, we've also had a multiple shutout games. And I think as long as we hold possession, those are possession based guys. I mean, those are, like I said, Kamal's better with his feet and able to get up forward. And then Christoph is good at the long balls. But let's move on to the next game.
Yeah, I
The US
think I
Open
was going to
Cup.
say actually that was a pretty good segue because a game where, and I don't exactly think it was the back line's fault.
Thriller.
It was an absolute another thriller, going down to penalties. But Inter Miami just barely edging out FC Cincinnati. We'll go through some of the key moments of the game, but one of the most shocking things, and I think the reason why the defense struggled, was the sudden change in formation. Um, did you expect? I mean, I don't think you did. I mean, this is a team that has won every game so far in the Leagues Cup. When they've had, especially when they start Messi, they've had no issues. And then you're going to change the formation in a semifinal against one of the best teams. I thought that was shocking, and I think that hurt the team. They were the worst team in the first half for sure. The second half, it could be argued. I could see arguments, but the first half, I don't even think there are arguments. I think FC Cincinnati was by far the better team in that first half, and I do blame a little bit of tired legs, but I mainly blame it on the change in tactical style. Something's been working so good. I don't think you just don't change it. How did you see that?
I was shocked. I was really shocked. So I expected rotation. I will say that. I expected rotation. I didn't expect heavy
that I
rotation
expect.
because I knew they were going. I knew Messi was going to play. Like, I didn't have a doubt in my mind that he was going to play.
If Messi wants to, I think, see, it's pretty much up to Messi at this point. If Messi says I'm good to play, he's going to play. Like,
I think
the one player on that team who the decision about whether he's starting or not is up to himself.
Yeah, where I saw rotation is I knew the big three were going to play: Messi, Busquets, Alba. I will say I'm surprised they ran Busquets for 120. And then I thought
I was even surprised to see Mota back. I'm not, and he had a rough game.
Let me get there. Yeah, I was going to say, like,
yeah.
I thought Christoph was going to get rotated. I expected Robert Taylor to get rotated, so I wasn't terribly surprised there. But I thought they would have put Farias in, in which he ended up. Dude, that dude is a fucking lightning bolt. So yeah. But yeah, I mean, the formation itself, I don't get it. Like, I get the rotation, but you had a 4-3-3 that was working really well, and then on top of that, you put in Gomez over Kremasky, and I know Kremasky, he's been playing a lot of minutes, but he also hasn't played a full game too much either. He's been splitting a lot of the time with Gomez, so you would think that they would start off with Kremasky and then come in with Gomez.
Even Ruiz a little bit.
Yeah, so
sometimes I see them make that sub.
And then, and then I felt like, so people started roasting Mota. And I feel like it is unfair, not for the criticism of how he played, but for Tata to put him in and start. Like that, like, come on. Like, why are you doing that? Like, why are you putting in a guy who hasn't played in 4 months, coming
with a new team? With basically a new team.
With essentially a new team.
He got injured and he showed up, and now he's got a new team around him.
And with coming off a knee injury and in a semifinal match, like a semifinal match,
away,
and you're gonna put You're going to start him.
in arguably
And
one of
it's
the
like,
toughest environments to play in the Eastern Conference.
yeah,
Probably the toughest environment to play in the Eastern.
probably the
In the East,
toughest. Yeah,
yeah.
honestly.
At least this season,
And
it's been that way.
and against one of the best teams. So it's like, dude, you're setting him up and you're putting him in a position to fail. I understand you want to rotate, but you could have rotated. Why is David Ruiz not starting instead? And then ease Mota in. Like, you could have eased him in. He could have came in that second half and switched and added some quality. But like, obviously, you could tell he was rusty. I don't want to say he had a bad game, but he was rusty.
Rusty,
It wasn't terrible.
It was 100%. He's not match fit. You could tell he's not match fit. It's not that he's a bad player, and it's not that you're watching and you're like, who the fuck? Maybe some people who've never watched Inter Miami are like, who the fuck is this guy? But then anybody who hears the story and knows, oh yeah, he hasn't played since this game, they'll realize, oh, okay. And then what was the lineup for that game? And then you see the lineup, and it's like, okay, all right, I get it. It's a lot. I mean,
and then
they arguably went through 2 coaches since he was injured as well.
Yeah, he's coming into a new system too. So like pre-injury, he was one of the best players this season for our team. He was really class, especially right before Gregory went out. But even when Gregory went out, I thought he was one of the best players on the team. He was playing. He was
really the one. He was the one who dictated the tempo for our team. If we were creating, if we were creating and we had good spells of possession, it was him spearing that movement.
And then
so he was great. I mean, that pairing, I loved that pairing of, before Messi and all that. Like I said, you probably remember in earlier episodes if you guys have been around for that. But I said that just ruins the season. I mean, that's it. You're losing your dynamic duo in midfield when we lost Gregore as well. I mean, it's just you're losing your 2 dynamic, one who creates and facilitates, and
one of the best midfield duos in the league.
They were, and it was showing when they were starting. We started the season strong. We ended up beating what turned out to be a pretty good Philadelphia team, early in the season, than what ended up being, a not so good Montreal team at the time. But still, they played well. It wasn't like, oh my God, how did we win those games? They played well.
So I want to go into Gomez now. So Gomez, look, the thing with Gomez is I can see the potential in it. Like, I see it. Like, you watch him play and you can tell this kid's got quality. You can tell, but he just feels so frantic. He feels so frantic and sloppy, and he seems nervous. He seems like he has anxiety.
I was gonna say nervous. I think he's still seeing the cameras from the moment. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's what it is.
You see Messi talk to him?
Well, that's
Messi was talking to him.
That's why I'm not exactly worried. I mean, he's got Messi. If I know Messi's Messi, and that's probably one of the reasons, or the reason why he's so nervous. I mean, he's got all these eyes on him. He's playing with one of the greatest players, arguably the greatest player of all time.
And he's brought in for a lot of money.
He's young.
He's
someone
like we don't need to rush him.
Paraguayans, see as the future for their national team for sure. So I think it's a lot, for someone like that, and I'm not exactly worried because Messi is that kind of guy in the locker room who will, all you need to know is that original story about him coming into the group chat, and being like, I got you, Campana. You need how many tickets? 2 tickets? And everyone's like, what the fuck? This man's in the group chat already and he's just chilling. Like, that's the kind of guy he is. Like, so like, I'm not worried. I think he's, and I don't think Tata's worried either. Having someone like Messi in the locker room,
I will say he's going to calm down. I know he's Tata's guy. Like, I know that was a Tata pick. He picked him. So he wants him to go in there and start immediately and start making a difference. But, like, the guy has shown for a few games in a row now that he just feels frantic. Look, you got Benha. You got Benha, who's playing very well right now. And I feel like he's at a point where he's undroppable. Give Gomez some time to kind of get in the feel of things. Because, look, not everybody's going to come into MLS is notorious for like giving players time because of how different things are with the schedule, the traveling, everything. And then especially you throw this whole Messi thing in there and it's so many eyeballs. It's like give him some time. You got a guy with Benha who plays the same position and who's playing really well right now. Let him play. Let Benha play. Benha might not even be here in the winter. They might send him off this winter because of all the eyeballs and how well he's playing, and he's already getting looks from Europe. He might not even be here by now. So let Benha play out the rest of the season. Let Diego Gomez just kind of understand the moment, understand the team, kind of get a feeling of it because Benha's been here from the beginning. Granted, it's a whole different team, but he's handling the composure well. Let him play and then you can always bring Gomez off the bench. I don't want to like completely bench him and not let him see the field at all. Obviously, I don't want to do that at all. He's
Yeah, no, he
a
needs to
young DP
play. Yeah.
or a U22 initiative. So it's like let him play, and it's a guy who can bring off great legs. I mean, these are. I think I think the midfield, especially when we get Gregory back, the midfield has gone from being extremely depleted to having no one to being extremely deep now. And I think this team has turned into being like basically no depth to one of probably the deepest team in the league. And but let's get back to the game though. So I thought Farias made his first debut. So did Tomas Aviles. What did you think of those guys' debut in those games?
Uh, I think FotMob is a little harsh on Aviles. First game, like I said, I think that back five is what made the back line, not be like, if Christoph and Alba aren't really having a great game, then something's wrong because they've been consistently the two guys that even if like Yedlin's not having a great game, or even if Kamal Miller's making a couple mistakes, um, so I don't really want to blame him so much when these guys who are experienced and we know are starting players who are surrounding him are not playing much better than him. I think for 19 years old, I actually really am excited about him. I think, I mean, it's so crazy.
You know, he's the
If I'm
most
gonna,
expensive
because like
defender ever.
Brazil, they're always like the team that's like throwing out prospects, and they still are. I mean, trust me, there's nothing wrong with there are plenty of young Brazilians getting thrown around all over the world, but it's definitely a good time for Argentina as well. I think they're producing. I think they're producing some good players, and it's making it very, very exciting.
Yeah, but did you know that?
Because
I
they just,
learned that he was the most expensive defender in MLS history.
see that is definitely interesting. For
And I almost wonder if that's why they
Farias,
did a back five. I wonder if that's why they did a back five so he can get like some playtime under his belt without having to be in a two center back situation. I'm curious if that's why they
possibly,
did back
but if
three
that's, I don't know,
to
that
ease him
just
in better. But it ended up
I
not
could see
working.
that, but
But
exactly, that's what I'm saying. Like, why risk it just to get him to play? I mean, there were games where, for example, the 4-1 against Philadelphia, sub him in at the fucking end of the game. The game against Charlotte when we're up multiple goals, sub him in. Why not?
yeah, Kristoff could use a break, dude. Kamal could
Yeah,
probably run a
yeah.
full game, but like
Yeah,
Kristoff could use
Kamal
a
can do
break.
it. Kristoff is the older man. Kamal Miller's, right about to get into his prime here. Um, so for Farias, I didn't see enough. I don't know. I didn't see enough. Uh, but yeah,
That's
it's
interesting.
tough. It's just tough. I don't know. I don't really have an opinion yet from what I've heard because like I do have Argentinian friends who like are not just Argentina, like they're in it like since day one, since they knew what was going on. They're following the federation, the league, the young players, the transfers that are going out. Like anytime anybody gets moved to a club that's known, they know, like him and his friends, like his family, they know about it. um he likes these players, so I think with the age and what uh the little that we've seen, I mean, he came in. I think his passing was fine. Um, I liked his dribble. I think he was good on the ball for dribbling, and I think that's going to be good. Um, but I think he's just going to need to be a little bit more physical. I think is probably why I just didn't notice that much from him. Like I just don't want to. I don't want to say too much because I don't really have an opinion. I know it sucks. We're on a podcast talking about shit, but like I want to see more about him. I'm not gonna talk out of my ass like a lot of people do.
Interesting.
Um,
I,
I
I
just want to
think
see more to make
I
it
think
to have a better opinion.
so. Fatma rated him a 6.6. I think that's kind of low. I think
Like I said,
this
Avilas.
guy.
That's what I was saying. FOMOB was a little harsh on him as well. I mean, yes, the back line wasn't so good, but it's like, why are you going to give him a 6.3? Didn't seem right. So I can agree with that. 6.6, I think, is a little low. He seemed very, these young players, they're very progressive. I like that. They want to push the ball forward. They don't really like to turn around and go back to the center backs. So that's obviously a positive. So if he can develop more, then I don't see why I wouldn't like him.
See, I think Farias is a baller. I think you can see it. Like the moment did you remember his first touch?
See,
That
that's what I'm
first touch
saying.
he
Like that,
had,
I
I was
love
like,
that. I
yo,
love
this
that. But
guy,
then I
I
wanted
saw that
more.
first
I don't know.
touch.
I thought he should. I feel like they should have just given him more touches. I wanted to
I
see
think
it
that
more
was the
consistently.
problem.
You know what I mean? I wanted to see that more. But
But
I know
when
what you
he
mean. That's what I'm saying. I like him. I think he's going to be a good player. But I just didn't have that feeling after the game. Like, yeah, that first touch, like early in the game when he had that moment,
that run, yeah,
I was like,
that
this
shit,
guy's great.
you
But
can
like,
tell the
yeah, I wanted to see a little
quality.
bit more of that. I wanted to see a little bit more of that, and that's why I didn't want to, go off and be like, oh yeah, this guy's gonna be amazing, or this guy looks like a flop, because I just didn't see enough of that.
Well, I saw that first touch, and I'm like, this guy's gonna be a baller. I'm like, he showed speed. He showed great footwork and dribbling, and not even obviously that first touch, but like when I first saw that touch, I'm like, oh shit. And then that's something like that was something you just couldn't. There's certain things you can't teach a player, and like that guy had skill. And then like just throughout the
Yeah,
game, I thought he just played really well and pushing the pace. I think you're right. I think he didn't get a whole lot of touches, but the moments that he did, I felt like he was really class. And this is a really big issue. I think it's a really big debate, and it's a good problem. Is that like, man, do you
very
take
good
out
problem.
Robbie Taylor and put in Farias because Farias has the potential? He's
I
younger
think
and all this,
Taylor does
but
well. I don't
Taylor's been
think you would
playing
do
really
that
well.
because Farias has potential. I would do it because Robert Taylor needs a break. I think he also deserves a break. I
Yeah,
mean, that
and
man's been
that's
even before Messi came. I mean,
yeah.
he's been like I said, he's been the bright spot of this team when we were not winning any games. He's the
So,
one guy who tactically I thought gave us an edge, put
and
himself
I
in those
thought,
spaces. He really is just putting in that work, and I think that he could deserve a break too. So why not? I mean, Farias got some good minutes, good enough minutes to the point where I mean, if you're going to start Avilas in the back five in a cup semifinal, and you're going to throw Mota back in after injured for months, then why not throw Farias into the game
yeah.
versus Red Bulls? I'm predicting now that I will predict. I'm going to predict that he's going to
Let's
start
wait. Let's
against.
wait. Let's wait before we move. Let's finish this game first. So yeah, I think Farias did really well. I think even his penalty kick was like a pro. He took his penalty kick. He was composed, blasted it, picked his spot, and went on it. But then, okay, let's. So the game obviously down 2-0. We then go to the game, and then boom, Messi hits a set piece, drops it right in the bucket to Campana. Campana heads it in, and then literally when we were down 2-0, something about when you have Messi, you just have faith. After what I saw from that Dallas game, I forever have faith. So then, literally last minute of the game, this man Messi just, oh my god. I mean, he kicked it in the trash can. You ever like had those games where you get deep and you just try to chip it into a trash can from far? Like he just boom right there, Campana, boom, header. Like, and I was making jokes during the game on the group chat. I'm like, because I didn't think Campana had that good of a game. Yeah, he got the brace, and obviously that's going to overshadow like what he did on the actual game. But I thought Campana wasn't really showing anything. I still this man has no right foot. I've never seen a player so like like, and he's a DP too, which bothers me the most. It's not like he's an academy player.
Yeah.
Like, it bothers me so much that this guy has no right. I swear you would think his right foot was broken.
Well, that's why he got the 2
He's
goals,
even
is
making
because his only
crosses.
thing that he actually,
His
like, when you
headers.
say yes, he's a young DP, yeah, that's the only thing that you look at him. Like, if you showed a
He's tall.
highlight reel of Campana in the box, like going for aerial duels and hitting headers and getting headed goals, then you'd be like, yeah, that guy's a young DP for sure. And then you see him on his feet, and you're like, oh boy.
Bro, I'm convinced he has more goals on his head than his feet, at least with Inter Miami. I'm almost positive by that. And I even saw like he's doing crosses with his left foot on the outside of his foot. Like, this guy literally refuses to use his right foot. I've never, like, dude, okay.
I've been on teams where I was 6 years old. I swear to God, I've been on teams like 6, 7 years old, and I have coaches yell at you, use your left foot. Because everyone's a righty, obviously. Left foot, and it's like we're 7 years old. That's how you need to be taught. I'm sorry if you're playing soccer nowadays and you're playing like soccer with your kid. I'm just saying, like, even if you're playing with your kid, because you never know. You know, if you want to have that option, you want to play for like your high school team or whatever. You want to have some fun playing for your travel team, whatever. You gotta use both feet. So you start them early. I mean, that was something I definitely, you know, when I played, I got on it too late. You know, I got it. I figured out, because it's like it was to a point where I could not. And when you play and you're actually playing like a game and you're realizing that you were like, damn, I can't, like, I take an extra touch just so I can pass on my right. If I could just do that with my left, then it'd be fine. So I just made it a point to make sure that I can, even long balls, like, I don't need to shoot. I don't need to become like a freaking, you know, Messi with the left foot, but I should be able to pass the ball and like send a lob ball with my left foot.
Campana,
and I practiced and I figured it out, and you just do it because you have to. It becomes so much of a hindrance. I don't understand how he can confidently play. And
it's so bad
because for me,
I've never seen a pro,
and I never played like high level. I played games with referees and stuff like that, so I've played official games, but I've never played like professionally. And yet I felt like a hint, like to the point where I was like in training, I'm going to, like, there was a training, I swear to God, there was a practice session, I only used my left foot because that's how fucking bad, like, only used my left foot the entire practice session.
See, I was lucky enough to be. I'm a little ambidextrous?
Ambidextrous. Okay, now you got me confused. I knew what it was.
Anyways, we know what it is. But like, I'm kind of like that in both my feet. I would say my right foot is my strong foot. Like, if I'm blasting it from outside the box, or if I'm taking a PK, or I'm taking a cross, I'm going to use my right. But I've never felt uncomfortable with my left. I could take a shot with my left, no problem. I would even sometimes, like, because I played winger, even when I did corners, like, sometimes depending on the angle, I would use my left foot. I was always able to use both. I could shoot outside the box with my left. But obviously, like, if I need, like, the right is always more comfortable. It always was. But it wasn't like the left was uncomfortable, and it was never like second nature for me to switch to my right. Like, if a ball's coming at me and because I played right wing, and maybe that's why, because I played right wing, and like, if I'm going down the flank and I'm getting across, and I use my right foot, obviously, but I used to cut in a lot. And sometimes you cut in and then you just take the outside of your foot with your left, and then you come in for the shot with my left, because I'm not going to like outside the boot with my right foot. That's just stupid. It was always natural for me. So that's why, like, when I was a kid, coach used to either put me on the right or the left. It didn't matter, whatever the comfortable. I think I've always kind of preferred the right, but I could always do the left, no problem, because I could still cross from my left. And then honestly, the left would probably been better for me, because I could still cross with the left. But if I wanted to cut in, now I'm on my strong foot to cut in, which is kind of like what Messi does. He's right footed and he cuts in, so then he can hit it with his left. I mean, he's on the right wing, but he can cut in and hit it with his left. But anyways, yeah, I've never seen Campana so bad. I mean, it's really bad. I mean, and you could say that's arguably why he didn't make the shot for the national game. He should have used his right foot there. Like, you're putting, like, he did an awkward ass chip in that national game. I know we're done about that game, but puts an awkward ass chip and he misses it. If he would have let the ball run past his foot,
or just take a touch,
right? Like
One touch. The
it would have
goalie
been
was
that.
already going down. That's
Yeah.
an easy round the keeper situation there.
So
But we are in the
he
final.
tied up, and yeah, it goes to shootout, and then who other than Drake
So
Callender just completely balls
exactly. So
out, and
like I said, Campana with that, we had our issues, but at the end of the day,
I want to say,
another stressful ass shootout, another save from Calendar. Great penalties again. Yes, Calendar's been good, but I do want to mention that before we move on because I know we've been
yeah,
talking about this forever. Um, with these two penalty shootouts and having so many penalties taken, and it wasn't just we had penalties in against Dallas too, so we've taken a lot of penalties in the past month. We've been really, really solid with penalties. Like
dude, we
these
put Justin
guys,
Martinez as the fourth shot. When I felt confident as hell when he pulled up for the fourth shot. I was like, "Yo, we got this." But
this
yeah,
guys now, it's
super
kind of
confident with
insane.
P.
Like it really is that they're not not taking bad penalties. They're either, and I get it, people don't like to see the stutter step, but they're doing it right. They're doing it to the point where they're really making the goalie like Messi's. He's like he. It's like almost at this point it's ridiculous. Like every time he takes a penalty, he's putting the ball where the goalie is not going. Like he's just always somehow can like have his foot moving in such a way where it's like you're diving to goalkeeper's left. All right, I'm going to the right. Like it's crazy. But they've been taking some great penalties. Even the youngsters, David Ruiz, Benjamin Kremasky, it's just absolutely,
Yeah,
bangers of penalties. I mean, Jordi Alba took his first
which is
penalty
wild to me. I couldn't believe
for
that.
up in like high level professional like a game, like an
It's
official
crazy to
high
me.
level game. It's first penalty, and if you had not said that by watching his penalty, you'd be like, it's Jordi Alba. He knows how to take penalties. It is crazy though. That is
I
crazy.
always wondered
So
why he didn't get top five, and now I knew why. I was like, "Oh shit!" It took for us to cycle through the whole team, but I do want to go without like. I am so glad Drake Calendar is finally getting recognized. I was saying it
yes.
from the beginning of the
We
year.
all
This
were. It
guy's
was the
not
one
getting
thing
enough
it was
attention.
the one thing we
He's
can
not
all
getting
agree
enough
on,
attention.
which I
He
liked.
wasn't getting
It
enough.
was the
He
one
wasn't
thing
getting
that we
enough
can all
attention,
agree on.
and he finally is. With Messi being here and all the eyes are on him, everybody's like, dude, this Calendar guy is good. I'm like, yeah, he's been good. But the problem is we were
But
the worst team in the
it makes
league.
us feel
And
good, and I'm sure
two,
I
we
mentioned
were
that.
MLS.
It makes
And two,
us
we're in
feel good
MLS,
because
and
it's
two,
like,
we're the
we know
worst
what
team in
we're
the league.
talking about. Because like we've been saying it for a while, and then when like all the eyes are on the league and everyone starts saying, "Oh my God, this goalie, he's pretty good. Who is this guy?" It makes us feel good. It's like, okay, we're not retarded. We know what we're watching. Like we know
Dude, he was on
talent when we see
ESPN
it.
FC's Twitter. Like he's like Drake Calendar. What this guy has been playing out of his
I mean, hey,
mind.
he won
He's
goalie.
getting
He
national
rightfully
team call
so
ups.
won goalie of Leagues Cup. He was the best goalie of Leagues Cup,
Yeah.
and we got another final, to deal with next month. It seems
Yeah.
like a while.
He
It's gonna be a while from now, but we're definitely gonna have, as the weeks roll on and we have the episode the week of. We are going to do a full preview on that, so don't you guys
Yeah.
worry.
So
But
I want to get one last thing before we move on to like minutes and stuff is I want to ask you this. So because I heard it being brought up and it kind of brings a question to mind. So Drake Callender is getting so much attention and rightfully so. He's playing out of his mind. He's been so far like my favorite player. He's been probably the team MVP, honestly, before Messi came. He's been out of this world. With Messi being here and all the eyes on him, and now he's getting national team. He was getting national team call-ups before Messi came, but like now he's really going to get national team pool. Um, do you think he should immediately take the first like decent offer to Europe, or do you think it's best for him to wait and get the right one? Because I'll tell you what I think real quick, and then I'll let you go. Because I think he should be in no rush to go to Europe. Because one, I feel like keepers is just one of those things where it's like, if you're a good keeper, you're a good keeper. And keepers are also one of those where it's like you get better like more so in your 30s. Like the best keepers in the
Yeah,
world are
your
like
your
late
your
20s,
prime
30s.
your prime is later, and you can retire much later.
Yeah. So I think for him, it's best for him to wait instead of taking the offer to go to like, let's say like a Dutch team or a Portuguese team or a Belgian team or even like a low level like League I think he shouldn't go until he knows he's going to get a starting position
Yeah, I
and
think
it's
you
going to
should
be
definitely get a starting
it's going to be in
position.
a top 5 and it's going to be in a top 5 league and it's going to be for a competitive team. I think
Unless it's
he shouldn't go until he's going to start because if he wants to be a part of the US men's national team and wants to play in a World Cup, he's got to go to a top league where he can start. Like you don't want to do what happened to Matt Turner and what happened to Zach
see,
Steffen where you were
that's
backup
actually
and
what I
then you
was gonna
lost your
say.
touch.
In a way, I actually think so. That's a weird one. I agree with you completely with Calendar. I think that he should wait for the right move. But with
Because he doesn't
how
need to move. He has
with
all the
how
eyes on him
Turner
already.
ended out, it seemed like, okay, well, that was kind of pointless. But then you think about it and you're like, huh, well, this ended up kind of being a win-win. You know,
But
he went to
who
Arsenal.
knows
He got to
Matt Turner?
he got to, you're right, but he got to train with top level, a Premier League contending team. He got to play some games, and now he got signed to be a starter in the Premier League, deservedly so. He was in that awkward position where he was too good to be on the bench, but he wasn't really good enough to challenge Ramsdale for that
But
starting spot.
and he
So it
wasn't
ended
taking
up where
Ramsdale.
so it seems like that was like kind of like a waste, but in a way I think it worked out. So for Drake Callender, it seems like going to a big team, like if it is like really a big team, like I'm talking like either La Liga, Bundesliga, Premier League, Serie A, or League top 5 team has to be like top, maybe even top 4 team, like in any of those leagues. Then I can understand being on the bench because it can work.
Unless it's a
Didn't work out
Champions
for
League
Zach
team.
Steffen, but the thing is that we all knew Matt Turner, and people at Arsenal knew Matt Turner. Even though he wasn't going to take Ramsdale's job, he was good enough to start for somebody in the Premier League, and I think that's what matters. If you are good enough, I don't think it's going to really matter where you go. I think if you're good enough to start, you're going to start. Um, Teams, I think they're smart enough nowadays, at least most of them are. I mean, PSG, to let their players go when they want to, do other
Look,
things.
but here's the thing though. Matt Turner doesn't have Lionel Messi and all the eyeballs on him that Drake Callender does. And I think if you're Drake Callender, you're getting so much hype. You're getting scouts from everywhere looking at you. Not just scouts that are just looking at MLS. You're getting scouts from everywhere because this is Messi. Everybody's going to tune in and see what happens. I just feel like, look, and it doesn't, I'm not saying you have to start for a Champions League team. I think it's a little unrealistic. I mean, it's possible. If that can happen, that'd be great. I don't think it's going to, but if he can go to a mid-table top 5 league team and start, I think he shouldn't leave until then because I don't think you risk it. If you want to push Matt Turner and push for that World Cup spot, you need to be starting, you need to be playing games if you want any chance to get to that level. And I think he's better off being at Miami, playing, balling out year in and year out, and then he finally like ring, fucking Brighton calls, let's say it's like a team like that, or you know what I mean, a Crystal Palace, like a mid table team, or like let's say fucking Fiorentina from Italy or what, like like Leverkusen,
Yeah,
and they're calling like, look, we want you.
Italy may not be like a top league, but they treat their goalies well. Their
But
goalies have good history there.
if I'm Drake, I'm not going anywhere unless I'm starting because I don't have to. I got Messi here. I got all the eyeballs. I'm playing well. I'm getting national team call ups. I don't want to lose my mojo
Yeah,
because
the only argument you
look,
can
it
make is the
worked for Matt
money.
Turner. It worked for Matt
That's what
Turner.
I'm saying.
But
It
is it going
seemed
to work
bad,
for?
but it
Is it going
worked
to
out
work
for
for
Matt
Zach?
Turner. because he
But
was
then it
good
didn't
enough.
work out for Zach Steffen.
But I don't think Zach Steffen was good enough. I think Matt Turner is different. People knew, there's
But
the
people were
coaches
really
at
high
Arsenal
on
knew.
Steffen. People were
That's
high on
true.
Steffen when he was
That's
at
true.
Columbus. He played really well at
But
Columbus,
then
and he
when
got
Matt
a City
Turner's
call.
Matt Turner, he was someone who was like it was obvious. It's not like, oh my God, this guy he's like
And you got
showing
to remember,
signs. It's like this guy's good. It's just this guy's our starter. The way he plays, the way
yeah.
he's our starter. He's gonna be our starter. He's not our starter, but he should start. Like it's just one
But
of
you got
those
to remember
situations.
too, people, unless you're a diehard Prem fan, a Nottingham fan, or just a USNMT fan, people don't know Matt Turner. Drake Callender is getting known. I would say Drake Callender is a more known prodigy than Matt Turner is right now. And why would you leave that unless you know you can go to a top 5 league and start? Like if I'm him, I'm not backing up no one. Like if you can get into a Europa League team, and I think MLS is getting to the point. And look, if we see with this whole salary cap situation, if shit changes and we start bringing in higher level talent, and MLS can push into that top 8, you know what I mean? Like why leave to go to? You're definitely not. He's definitely not going to like a Dutch league or like unless it's like an Ajax, you know what I mean? Which I don't see that happening. But like you go to a top 5 league and you're mid table, and you should be starting because, like I said, I think his goal, any goalie's goal is you want to play in the World Cup, and I think the only way you beat out Matt Turner is you go to another place that like Matt Turner's playing at, which is Nottingham Forest. And I will say, I think Matt Turner's success helps Drake Callender because it's like, okay, Matt Turner, okay, let's be real. It wasn't like he was developed through the Arsenal system. He was there for like a year, a half a year.
Yeah.
He was there for like a half a year. He essentially came from MLS straight to Nottingham. Like essentially, I mean, he like I said, because he went to Arsenal in the winter, right? Or was it summer?
Yeah.
Last summer. I think it was last summer.
Last
Actually.
summer.
But from playing time, he went from MLS to Nottingham, and he's playing decent right now. He's playing pretty well. I think that helps Drake Callender in that way because it's like, dude, this guy. But yeah, but let's move on to the next topic. So, how will they manage Messi's minutes? We have an immensely tight schedule. We've talked about this ad nauseum leading up to the Leagues Cup and about all the talk about us making the playoffs. I think the playoffs is going to be. I really think it's going to be a miracle for us to make it. I think it's going to be very tough as we get closer to it and we're getting to the regular season with the first regular season game being this Saturday. It is going to be an uphill battle. I think if it was a flat 12 games where it's like you're playing one game every week, no issues. I think the problem is we're playing a game every 3 to 4 days, especially in the month of September. We're playing 6 games in 1 month. It is jam packed. And if you want to add an extra day, because technically we're playing on the final day of August, like it's really 7 games in a month. So, and don't forget the Leagues Cup, the US Open Cup game. So 7 to 8 games in a month. Like that is insane. So I guess how do you see? Okay, we talk about Messi's minutes, but then also just like general rotations. But I guess specifically Messi because I think this team is very scared to play without him, or at least Tata is.
Well, I think when it comes to everybody else, I think it's gonna be more standard rotation, kind of like we see, like we've seen a little bit already with Tata. Certain players mix and matching. But with Messi, I still maintain that it's his choice. If Messi says I'm good to play, he's gonna play. If Messi needs a rest, he's gonna rest. That's just how
What do
it's
you
gonna
think
be.
he'll say? Do you think he's playing full 90 this Saturday?
If he
'Cause I don't think
starts,
so.
if he starts, and they don't have the game wrapped up, then yes.
I agree with you if he starts. I don't think he starts though. I think
I
what's
don't think
going
he
to
should
happen.
start. I think he will. I don't think he should. I think he will though. If that's what you're if you're asking my prediction, I think he's gonna start.
I think we're incredibly fortunate, which is crazy to think just even 2 months ago that this wasn't the case. We are very deep versus 2 months ago, we were literally calling up academy kids. We are very deep right now. So I think almost every position can get swapped out. Except for him. I think it's even though I still think you can. So I think we got depth at center back. I think you can sub out like Christoph or Avilas. I think Jordy can get subbed out for Noah Allen. Same with DeAndre Yedlin. You could put Noah Allen over there, or even put McVay over there if you really had to. I think Busquets needs a rest. I don't think Busquets.
Busquets he's been tiring. He's been slowing.
And I don't think he needs to start. He has not been playing well, and I think it's because he's gassed. He's sloppy. And I think if Arroyo starts, I think you're going to see Mota come back, which gives Kremasky some rest. I mean, even though I think Kremasky is probably still good because he hasn't been playing full 90s. Same thing with Gomez. And then now you got Farias, an attacker. Campana hasn't been playing that much, so you can put Campana back out there again because Joseph is playing most of the League's Cup. So you can give Joseph some rest. And then Farias, you can move him over there, take Robert Taylor's spot.
Yeah, because I think Taylor needs a rest.
I think Messi's the right wing, and the only problem is who else do you put over there? And the closest thing I can think of is Robert Taylor, but that kind of defeats the purpose of giving him rest, because like I wouldn't mind a front three of Farias, Campana, and Taylor, because Taylor can play the right. I wouldn't mind that front three if you want to rest Messi. I think even with our rotational lineup, I think we can still beat New York. I think we're very deep. I really do. And especially if Gregory come back soon and then Mota gets some footing under his belt, which hopefully he was able to knock off all the rest this past Wednesday. I think we're very deep even with our rotations. And I think if you can bring in Busquets, Messi, and Alba the last 30 minutes or 45 minutes, I think that's straight, because at the end of the day, this is just a regular season match. So we're stopping at 90. So if they can come in at the 60th, 55th minute, I think they can handle that. And then obviously you're going to back home to Nashville, which is going to be another quick turnaround. So yeah, I think I wouldn't be surprised if these next two games, the big three don't start. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, I think Busquets definitely needs a rest. I think Taylor should get a rest. Busquets needs a rest. Robert Taylor really should get a rest.
Because he's been running his ass off. Robert Taylor's been running his ass.
Give Christoph a break. Other than that, normal rotation. Mota, I think he should be, he's an option now. I don't think he should be thrown into the game again after the last game. Alba seems to be fine.
He came late. He
came a little later, so I think he's fine. We'll see how it goes.
Got Noah Allen there.
Let's put it like this. It's definitely going to make our MLS picks interesting when we get to that point soon, very soon.
I guess if Messi doesn't play, do you think they change formation? Maybe they take away a right winger.
I think they should go back to the stick with what's going on.
Because if you
could play fluid. You don't have to actually play with a right winger. You can kind of play with like a right midfielder, almost like someone who's just like a right-sided midfielder
up there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you could have Kremasky
because he doesn't need to sit all the way on the wing. If you're going to have Yedlin running down the wing, Yedlin's going to be the wide player. The really wide player.
Because you still got Ruiz you can bring off the bench. You still got like that.
I don't think it's a huge concern.
I will say I don't think you really have a backup for Yedlin, especially. I don't know if you heard the news. They just loaned out Harvey Neville.
I did see that.
So now you have really no right back, but you do have that boat.
I'm not even trying to.
And maybe he can.
I'm not even trying to be mean, but it's just true. Harvey Neville sucks. Well,
you do have that boat right kid who played that one game, and I thought
he was great,
pretty decent.
I thought he was great. I was like, holy shit, we got another one.
Maybe they have more.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they should play Neville. More. They should, because he was actually good for us. Whereas Neville, I don't fucking give a shit. Like he's kind of useless.
Yeah, like I said, my only concern is who replaces Messi without changing the formation. And I feel like the best thing to do would probably put Kremasky at the right wing. But then even then, Kremasky still needs rest. But he's still young, so maybe he can keep on going.
He's young, and they haven't been making him play full 90s either. So I think he could do it.
Yeah, so I think we're looking pretty solid, especially midfield. I think you can swap out and rotate midfield. I think especially Busquets shouldn't play. I think Messi, if he's up to it and he can do it, he can. He walks a lot. Alba, I know he was gassed his past game, but I feel like Alba can still go because he didn't play as many. Obviously, you can throw in Campana in there. Campana didn't really play too much, and but Busquets has got to go. You got to put Arroyo. Arroyo didn't even play the Open Cup, which is wild to me. I was surprised he didn't play at all. That really shocked me.
Yeah, he's been putting a lot of effort in as well. It did shock me, but I don't know.
I think
He
Busquets
could
has
have
got to
played a
get
little
out. He
bit.
needs rest.
Yeah.
Like that dude was literally a dead man walking. I was like, there's no way. I was surprised they had him run the full 120 in that heat. But so yeah, I guess we'll see. I think these next 3 games are going to be pretty crucial because I mean, Red Bulls, then Nashville, and then you got LAFC, and it seems like these next 3 games are where they're going to do some serious rotations and what they do there, and then who knows what's going to happen with this whole international window thing if Messi gets called up, if he plays, like how that's going to affect
you'd
us in those
assume they would
games.
want him.
But I do feel like our team is set up.
We'll definitely see.
I think the team is built to where we can win without him. I know people feel like Messi and the Messi effect and everything. And I agree. I think he's a huge part of this team and his moments of magic have saved us. But I think with the roster we have, even without him, we can it's still a solid roster and we could win games. I mean, you're talking about even with Messi gone, we essentially have 5 DPs because with Messi, we're essentially fucking 6 DPs with these U22 initiatives. These guys are making a lot of money. So I think even without Messi, there's enough quality. I think we can squeeze out victories. But let's get into our rapid fire predictions. I think we've killed the Miami talk. So let's get into these rapid fire predictions. Let's not go too long on these. We'll run through these and we'll swap over to overseas. So let me pull this up right here.
This was a very Miami heavy episode, but there was a lot to talk about.
That's our team.
But with the MLS, the regular, the boring league coming back up, we'll make sure that we'll put aside a little extra time next time to talk about the big leagues, the rest of the world as that's coming up, because I think we're just going to be able to touch a little bit, some early thoughts on the first couple games, but that's pretty much about all we're gonna have time for. But next week we'll definitely dive in deeper.
Yeah. All right. So this is match day 26 picks. Oh, my bad. Match day 28 picks of the week. And what other game to start off with than New York Red Bulls versus Inter Miami?
They know what we've been talking about.
So New York Red Bulls at home plus 135 as the favorites, Inter Miami plus 175 as the road dogs, with the draw being a plus 250. I'm going draw here. I think with the rotations and Inter Miami being tired, it's going to be a draw. New York is known for being a pesky pressing team that knows how to press and go at you, but they are not clinical in front of net. They've been very bad with their chances on goal and have not been able to put things away. So I can see a draw here, and I think a draw will be a victory for Miami.
Yeah, it looks like what the odds makers think that Messi will not start, because if he was starting, those odds would not look like that. I don't think we need to go into too much detail about the last 5 of Miami. They have won their last 5, although some of those games would have been a draw, I guess, if it was the league. But New York, on the other hand, it is worth looking at their last 5. They've been doing pretty good. 4-2 win against New England, and then in the Leagues Cup 2-1 against Atletico de San Luis, a 1-0 victory against their crosstown rivals NYCFC, a loss to the Philadelphia Union. That one was in penalties, 1-1, but they lost in penalties. And then they beat DC United at home. So both teams are actually pretty hot right now, but I think Messi will start. I go Miami.
All right, yeah, I'm going draw here. So next game, we got FC Cincinnati versus New York City. FC Cincinnati minus 120, New York City FC plus 300, with the draw being a plus 270. New York City FC did bring back Maxi Morales after being gone in South America this past year, but he's now back in New York City FC. But I think New York City FC has too many problems. FC Cincinnati, obviously, Supporter Shield leaders right now, best team in the league at the moment, just went through battle, getting knocked out of the U.S. Open Cup. I think they're going all in on the Supporter Shield race, and they're at home. Give me FC Cincinnati.
Yeah, I think Cincinnati, I mean, they gave Miami the toughest test yet, and we thought that wouldn't be possible after the Nashville game. So these New York City, they have a loss, win, loss, not doing so well, whereas Cincinnati, they have a win, a loss, and a loss, although 2 of those losses in penalties.
All right. Now we got Orlando City.
I'm going Cincinnati. I don't know if I made that clear.
Oh, yeah, Cincinnati. Okay, yeah, you didn't. Orlando City SC versus St. Louis. Orlando at home -135. St. Louis +340 with the draw being a +280. I'm actually going to go with the odds makers here. I like Orlando at home. I think they're starting to play better as well. Even though St. Louis has been dominating, and the St. Louis absolutely obliterated Austin this past weekend, but Austin is just a shit show right now. So I'm going Orlando here.
I agree. Orlando, they've definitely been playing a lot better lately. They're really, on paper, they're not that bad of a team, so it's not surprising that they're starting to click. With Orlando City, they have a win, a loss to Miami, and then a win. So they've been playing very well. With St. Louis, they've lost 1, although that was pre-Inter Miami win, a loss, and then a win against Austin, which was a great game if you guys have not seen it. But I'm also going Orlando on that one.
All right, next game, Montreal versus New England Revolution. Montreal +110 at home. New England Revolution +210 away, with the draw being a +250. I'm actually going to go draw here. New England is obviously one of the top teams in the East, but they are on the road. And I think Montreal has actually been playing a little better, especially at home. I think some of the additions, like I said, of Bryce Duke and Popku and Ariel Lassiter has really kind of helped turn that team around. So I'm going to go draw here.
I'm actually going to go New England. I agree. Montreal have been playing a little better, but I don't know. I think New England, it's about time for them to wake up. It is away, but they have been a great team. They're third in Supporters Shield. So with the Montreal, they have a loss, a win, a loss, a win. New England, a win, loss, and loss. Although 2 of those most recent losses in penalties. I'm going to go New England.
All right. Now we got DC United versus Philadelphia Union. DC United +140 with Philadelphia Union +185 away, with the draw being a +230. I'm going Philly here. I know oddsmakers got DC at home, but I got Philly here. Philly's just the better team. They're going to want to redeem themselves after what happened, and obviously they're going to be pushing for I think they're also in the Supporter Shield race, so that's something they got to work towards. But yeah, I got Philly here.
I agree. Philly, it wasn't like them against Miami. They're much better than that. Their last 5 even shows it, with a win, a loss to Miami, and then a win, claiming 3rd place in the Leagues Cup. DC have lost 1, lost. They've been struggling a bit. Philadelphia are the better team, and I think they would win despite being away.
All right. Now we got Atlanta United FC +105 at home versus Nashville SC +230 away, with the draw being a +250. I'm going to go Nashville win. I think Atlanta has been struggling. They're continuing to struggle. They're on a downward spiral. And Nashville has been playing very well. And I think, like I said, they went through the gauntlet of playing some of the best teams on the continent. So I'm going Nashville here, even though they're on the road.
I agree. I think usually on paper, if you're looking at these two teams, I think this is one of those games where you could see it being a draw. But Atlanta have been struggling. Uh, they did win their most recent game against Seattle, but other than that, they've lost the other four. Whereas Nashville, they've been looking great, except for a loss to Miami.
All right. So we
So
both
I
got
agree.
Nashville there. Charlotte FC versus Los Angeles FC. Charlotte FC as the home dog at plus 185 with LAFC plus 130 as the road favorite with the draw being a plus 250. I'm going LAFC on the win here. I think this is pretty easy. Charlotte is a very bad team, and Los Angeles, obviously, one of the best teams on the continent.
I'll totally agree here. I mean, Charlotte, they haven't been playing terrible. They have a win, a win, a win, a win, and got destroyed by Inter Miami. LAFC have a draw, a win, a win, a loss to Monterrey, and then a win. LAFC, there's
So they
way
lost
better team.
to the highest. They lost to pretty much the most talented team in CONCACAF is Monterrey
Yeah,
on paper, one of the
yeah.
highest payrolls in the CONCACAF. All right, Columbus Crew versus Toronto FC. Columbus Crew plus 290 at home as heavy favorites. Toronto plus 600 away, with the draw being a plus 400. Toronto struggles continue to happen. It's terrible. They literally have no one else on that team except Bernadeschi and Insigne. That's literally all they have on that team. They don't even have a manager right now. So, and Columbus Crew, meanwhile, has been playing out of their mind. Their last game, I know they did beat the shit out of Cincinnati, which is obviously the best team in MLS right now,
Yeah,
record
it was
wise.
surprising.
So, I'm
Oh,
going
I
Columbus here. I
totally
think this
agree
is
with you.
easy.
Toronto winless in their last five, whereas Columbus 3 wins, 2 losses in their last five, with one of those losses
Toronto
being penalties.
Toronto pre-Messi was the highest spending team in the league, and now they're the worst team. Genuinely the worst team. I know we have the worst record, but Toronto
They
is
are
the
the worst
worst
team.
team.
Yeah, they're the worst team. And that's
And I
saying
would have
something
never
because I,
guessed.
I actually thought Colorado was the worst team, which
I
they're
thought Toronto
close.
was going to be one of the best teams in the league.
Yeah, it's
I
crazy.
mean, going into the season, they had a lot of talent on there, and then they lost it due to injury, or they traded him away. Then they bought Bradley, not knowing what to do. It was just a shit show. So I'm curious to see how their offseason looks like, especially if
Oh,
the rumors
yeah.
of John Hurden, the Canadian national team coach, going over there. But
Now,
Sporting
to the eight.
Kansas City.
Well, that's really, it says 7:30 on, or no, it's on the bottom. So the 8:30 games. Yeah, let's go. 8:30. Moving
Sporting Kansas
on.
City versus San Jose Earthquakes. Sporting KC plus one minus 150. San Jose Earthquakes plus 380 with the draw being a plus 290. I'm actually going to go draw here. I think Sporting KC is starting to play a little better, but San Jose is actually in the playoff race. So we got a little bit of Western Conference matchup. But like I said, KC's been playing better at home. They had a really, really rough start in the beginning of the season, but they're starting to pick it up. So I'm going to go San Jose here. I'm going to go draw here.
You're gonna go draw. I actually agree with you. I'm gonna go draw. Um, it just, I don't know why, but it just seems like I don't think both these teams have really. They're not high scoring teams. That's for sure. So like a
All
1-1 is
right.
definitely on the cards.
Got a Texas Derby going on here. FC Dallas versus Austin FC. FC Dallas plus 100. Austin FC plus 250 with the draw being a plus 250. This is not a very good game. So Dallas, yes, I believe they're in the playoff race, but it's a team that's been squeezing by victories. Meanwhile, Austin, on the other hand, has just been I don't know what happened to that team, because this was a team that pretty much stayed together from last year. Had kept the same
Yeah,
coach, kept the same players.
it's the shock
So
of the year for sure.
I don't know what's going on with Austin. Like I said, they were one of the top teams in the West. They qualified for the Champions League. I don't know what's happening, especially this is the same team, but I think I'm going to have to go Dallas here. Austin, just until Austin can prove otherwise, Austin lost to a Haitian team that hadn't played in 2 years. I mean, until they can prove me wrong, otherwise I'm going to go Dallas here, especially at home.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Dallas as well. They're pretty strong at home. They gave Messi's Miami a good run for their money. Austin have been struggling. I think that's a pretty easy pick.
All right. So the game that was not talked about as much as the other semifinal in the US Open Cup was
Mm.
Real Salt Lake versus Houston. So they're going back and going up against each other again 3 days later, but this time Real Salt Lake is hosting. And Real Salt Lake is minus 130 with Houston Dynamo being a plus 310 with the draw being a plus 280. I actually really like Real Salt Lake at home. Houston's is sketchy on the road, which makes me feel good about Inter Miami in the US Open Cup. Um, but Real Salt Lake in regular season play has been playing very well. They climbed up, I believe, in fourth place in the West, so they've been doing very well. And yeah, I'm going Real Salt Lake here.
I think that's a good pick. It's probably the safer pick, but I'm gonna go for a wild one here and say draw.
All right. Now we got LA Galaxy versus Chicago Fire. LA Galaxy plus 210, Chicago Fire plus 280, with the draw being at plus 280. LA Galaxy actually made some decent moves in the summer transfer window. It's a team that's slowly getting better. Chicago Fire is the complete opposite. It's a team that's been stagnant and it's still stagnant, even though they're paying their DP so much money. But it shows that you need to diversify that income a little bit, or that salary a little bit. But I'm going LA Galaxy at home here. I think it's an easy win.
Yeah, I agree. Both teams been having a rough season, but I think LA are the team that's just slightly more in form at the moment. Um, so I think LA Galaxy is a good pick.
All right. Now let's go. Got a little bit of a Cascadia rivalry going on. Portland Timbers versus Vancouver Whitecaps. Portland Timbers plus 110, Vancouver Whitecaps plus 200, with the draw being a plus 260. I feel like this is a pretty evenly matched. They're both kind of middle of the table Western Conference teams. I'm going to go draw here because I want to say I like Vancouver more. I think Vancouver has shown more this season, but Portland at home is a tough place to play, so I'm going to go draw here.
Yeah, it's definitely a tough place to play, but I feel like every time we bring that up, it ends up going south. So I think I'm gonna have to pick Vancouver here for this one.
All right. And then this is the final game of match day 28, and it's going to be a Sunday game, a standalone game, which thank God. We need more of these. We need Friday. I've been calling for Friday night footy. Oh my gosh, you cannot tell me that's not an awesome idea.
What was
Friday
your
night footy.
what was your pick again?
I had draw.
Perfect.
But we got Minnesota United FC plus 115 at home, Seattle Sounders plus 220 away, with the draw being a plus 230. I'm actually going to go draw here. I think Minnesota can be a pretty good team, especially with Timu Puko. I think it's Pookie. Timu Pookie.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Norwich City longtime striker. He's been playing pretty well and been partnering really well with Manuel Reynoso, who's coming back from injury and has been pretty well coming back from injury. So, and Minnesota making it to the quarterfinals of the Leagues Cup. So I'm gonna go draw here. I think Seattle still has enough class to stay in this game and keep a draw.
I'm actually gonna go Minnesota. I think Seattle have been struggling recently. I think they losing to a struggling Atlanta.
We're losing Adam a little bit. What was that?
So I would go Minnesota.
Okay, there you go. You're back now. So you got Minnesota. All right,
Yeah.
cool. And those are our picks of the week. We will come back next week and see how we perform. There is a set of Wednesday games, so we're not probably going to be covering that one. So our next predictions are going to be probably match day 30 that weekend. So stay tuned, fools. So let's hop over across the pond. I know we spent a lot of time over here.
Yes. So, like I said before we moved over, we could spend a lot more time on this next week, as the regular season for MLS gets back to normal. We'll have a lot more time focus in on these things. But what I wanted to do, at least before we call it a day, is just look at just our initial thoughts. So there's been 2 Premier League games so far, 3 La Liga games for some, right? Not
Real
everyone's
Madrid
played 3.
just Real
Yeah.
Real Madrid's the only one that's played 3. They actually played today. We were
So they were
recording
okay.
on Friday.
Yeah. So they were the only one. Okay. So 2 games, some 3 for some, I guess. Um, uh, so I think
It's a Friday, so
yeah. So with match day 3 this weekend, we have seen everybody play. We've seen the new promoted teams in both La Liga and Premier League. We haven't really gotten a chance to really dive in and watch some of the other leagues yet.
Serie A just had their first week.
Serie A always starts a little later, so that's to be expected. So the one that we've definitely been watching is Prem and La Liga, so that's something we can give our initial thoughts on. We'll start with the Prem. Just our initial thoughts. Who is so I think it's pretty obvious. After last season, we know that City are the favorites. We know that Arsenal have improved. If they can stay healthy, they'll be challenging City. We did have some shakeups last season. We had Chelsea in the bottom half of the table. Liverpool struggled. Tottenham were Tottenham once again. Even United, it took them. It was a struggle for them to get back up into Champions League football. So we did see quite a shakeup. I mean, a lot of people didn't even have Arsenal in the top 4. They had Arsenal maybe 5th. A lot of people. So it was very shocking. I think now people are kind of starting to realize, and rightly so, that it's Arsenal and City who are going to be at the top. But the question is, do you think, and I'll give my thoughts on this after, do you think that Liverpool, Chelsea, Tottenham, do you think that they fix their problems and are going to be back competing? We're going to have a pretty traditional top, 6 in the table this season, or do you think it's going to be more struggles for, especially Chelsea? I mean, they had the worst season out of anybody in the Big 6.
I mean, Chelsea played today. They won pretty heavily, but I mean, it's Luton Town. It's Luton Town. So
it's Luton Town, yeah. And I will say, before you go ahead and answer that question, Luton is the team that I have predicted to come in last. It's great that they're in the Premier League. I mean, it is huge for them, but they are very much out of their depth. It's going to be a rough season for them. Glad they're here. But yeah, so that I don't really see Luton Town's going to be a win for a lot of teams.
So I think Tottenham, I think they're going to be struggling to make a champion. I'll say this: I think we might have another non-top 6 team potentially make Europa and potentially even Champions League. I think you can have another team that's, because I think Chelsea's going to be a dumpster fire again. I just don't think they're going to be good. I think Tottenham's not going to be great. I feel like Tottenham added nothing. They just lost Harry Kane. That whole Harry Kane saga and everything, like it's all kind of all over the place. I think Liverpool.
It's like you got 100 million. What are you going to do with it?
Yeah,
they haven't done anything with it yet.
I think Liverpool's going to be solid. I think they're going to be a Champions League team. They're going to be back in there. I will say my dark horse. Like I know City and Arsenal are going to be like the two teams racing for the top. I'm gonna go. My dark horse is Newcastle.
Oh,
Newcastle is playing out of their Look
at their defense against City. I mean, I have a friend who's a City fan, and he was saying, he was congratulating one of my friends who's a Newcastle fan, and they lost. He was like, "I got to give you guys credit. Your defense was rock solid." And they're definitely a dark horse. I think West Ham Surprisingly, they've had some rough years. I remember I was a year I was in London, and I went to see a West Ham game. Was that infamous season where the fans were throwing shit at the owner's box because they were so pissed off. I mean, they've had a pretty good start to the season. Yeah, I guess a draw against Bournemouth isn't so great. But I like their team. I like what their signings that they've been making. They did beat Chelsea 3-1. So I think Chelsea are still going to have some problems. I think they're going to be a lot better. I think
I
you're
think
right about
United's going to
Liverpool.
struggle.
I think Liverpool. I think the top three. I think Liverpool will return to the top three. That's what I think is going to happen. I think.
I think your Champions League teams is going to be City, Arsenal, Newcastle, Liverpool, and then your Europa League team. I'm going to throw in.
I think United will be in there. I think United will be like a fifth or a sixth. I don't really see them struggling any more than that. Especially, I mean, I think they may have some holes in their team, but they finally have a good manager. I do rate Eric Ten Hag. I think what he did to even drag that freaking team to Champions League last year is very
See
commendable.
the thing with West Ham is weird because yeah, you beat Chelsea 3-1, but then you draw Bournemouth, which
So I'm saying it's not a great
to, to,
start, but I
to,
like their
to
squad.
get Bournemouth
I
to get
like their
Bournemouth.
squad. They have two good goalies. They got pretty decent defenders. They actually just signed a former Arsenal. He never really played that much for Arsenal, but Konstantinos Mavropanos, which was one of Arsene Wenger's last signings, signed him up. They got Kurt Zuma, former Chelsea man, James Ward-Prowse, Thomas Susek, Lucas Paqueta, great player, um, Danny Ings, Mikel Antonio. I mean, this on paper, it's a good team. Um, I'd like to see them, yeah, they're in London, so it's not, as an Arsenal fan, it's like, okay, don't want them to do too good. But I think those fans, they've gone through a lot of shit. I think they deserve it.
And credit to Bournemouth, I think they're building something really good over there. I mean, obviously their big new signing, Tyler Adams, coming from Leeds United, and
mhm.
everything. Look, I'm
A
not
lot
gonna
of
act
these
like I know a lot
teams.
about them, but from what I've been hearing from a lot of people that follow the team and like a lot of people who just follow the Prem heavily, they kind of like the project that's going on over there at Bournemouth. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, I think Newcastle's going to be another Champions League team, and I wouldn't be surprised if you see them really fight. I mean, the showing they put against City. I mean, I want to say they pretty much shut down Holland, right? I mean, because I kind of missed the first half, so I don't know what happened in the first half, but I
They
felt
did.
like they pretty
They
much shut
did.
them down in that second half. Um, but to be fair, I mean, well, a lot of City fans were wanting to see Phil Foden, and I think he played well. But this is also a city that doesn't have De Bruyne. So does Newcastle look that great without De Bruyne? De Bruyne, can you shut down um, Holland as much as without him there? Even though like I said,
Yeah.
I do think Phil Foden did play a really good game, and I know obviously English fans rate him super super high.
I mean, he is. He's a great
But
talent, but
yeah, but I'm curious to see how well they would have held up if De Bruyne was there. But nonetheless, I still think I know it's a 2-man race, but I wouldn't be surprised. I think Newcastle's probably going to be in third, and I honestly wouldn't be surprised if they're not that far behind and
yeah.
could be like
No, I can
technically
totally
in
see
it
that.
towards the end, technically. So
So before we move
I
on
think
to
the
La
fifth
Liga,
spot's going to be. I think four
yeah,
and
that's
five
gonna
is going to be
be
really interesting. I think
yeah, it's
four and
definitely gonna
five
be
is going to be
tough.
super because I think, like you said, I can see Liverpool in there. Man United, they always. I mean, they started off slow last year, but now they could ramp up. But then, like, you could see something like, I mean, Brighton played really well at the end of last year. I mean, what Brighton got sixth, I want to say.
They're top of the league right now.
Yeah, they're top of the league. I mean, they didn't beat nobody. I mean, they beat Luton Town and Wolverhampton, which is a shit show that's going on over there.
Hey, they don't care. Still
So,
top.
but
So yeah, but like I said,
yeah,
before we
I
move
think
on,
4 through 7 is gonna be good. But yeah.
yeah, it definitely is. I think it's going to be much more interesting this season. I think we're going to see some teams that we're not used to seeing, and some teams that rightfully back at the top. So like I said, I want to move on quickly to La Liga, but just quickly, and I'll give you my three teams that you think are going to go down. Mine are Luton, and I think Luton is the obvious choice. I think Everton are finally going to go down. They've been barely squeaking out these 2 years. They've started terribly again, like really bad. I think they're going to go down, and I think Sheffield is going to go down. Although that one is a bit of a wild card. I think there's a few teams you could throw in there. Wolves had a rough start.
It'd be crazy
Burnley,
if
even
Wolves
though
goes down.
they did so well in the championship, any team coming into the back into the Premier League is going to be struggling a little bit. Um, it's going to be tough. But like I said, Luton, Everton, Sheffield, those are my three. Luton's an easy one. Give me your three, and then we'll move on to La Liga. Talk about
Yeah,
Barca versus Madrid.
obviously, I think Luton's they're done. I agree with you with Everton. I think they're finally going to meet their fate. I think they're finally going to.
It's like
They've been avoiding it.
They got so lucky too.
They've
Certain
been
times. I
avoiding
mean,
it
like, ugh.
and avoiding it and avoiding it. I think it's finally going to happen. It's finally going to happen. Um, for that 18th spot, I'm between because I think Bournemouth is going to be a solid team. I think they're going to fight. Um, Man, it's going to be close because I think
That's what I'm saying.
you
That
can
third
look
team you
because
could
you
throw
can
in a
look
lot of
at
teams.
because you can see Nottingham, Bournemouth, Sheffield, Burnley, Wolves, Everton, Luton. I think Crystal Palace is going to kind of step away, and so will Fulham. But I mean, I think
Yeah,
those might be
Fulham have
my
been
six in
bad.
contention. Is Nottingham? What would it be? Nottingham, Bournemouth, Sheffield, Burnley, Wolves, Everton, Luton. So I think it's 7 teams
Yeah,
that are fighting for it.
fair enough. Yeah.
Um, I think it's got to be between Wolves or Sheffield for me, and I think I'm gonna
Okay.
go Sheffield because I think Wolves. I just feel like they have just more talent. I mean, they've been in the. I mean, Sheffield. This is their first year back. Um, Wolves hasn't gone down since 2016. It's been about 7 years. I mean, they're just going to have more quality on that team. Um, so I think quality is always going to kind of edge it out, and I can see Sheffield going right back down. But Everton's going to, like I said, Everton's going to meet its fate after I don't know how long it's been, but it's finally gonna happen.
All righty. So let's move on to our last topic of the day. La Liga. Fresh off of a facelift, might I add. I absolutely love the new logo. I don't
I
know.
don't
But the old one
understand
was
the new
always weird.
logo.
I don't care. I mean, like, I understand. The old one was kind of weird. I don't know. That circle with the colors. I don't know. It's just, it always reminded me of the Apple, the Apple pinwheel.
Oh yeah.
That's kind of what it always reminded me of. And I'm not saying it's great. I just think it kind of, it's more modern. It makes sense.
It just
It's
doesn't feel like a
unoffensive.
soccer league. I
It's
guess to me,
unoffensive. That's what I'm saying.
to
Like,
me, it doesn't look like
it's not, yeah, you're not like, oh my God, that's so great. Good job. But it's
like
very
a tech
unoffensive,
startup.
Yeah, it's very minimalistic.
It looks like
But
a tech startup.
so this is your so the Premier League is my neck of the woods, so I usually have more to say about that. La Liga is your neck of the woods. I know you're a Barcelona fan, but I do want to mention this because it's something that I've thought about for a while, and it's good to see my thoughts be proven right. The transfer of the year is going to be Jude Bellingham. I just
Yeah,
I think I am, and he has been that was the next thing. I mean, everyone knew he was going to be a superstar. It was just where was he going to go? Was he going to go to England? Because City would have paid a lot of money if he wanted to go there, even though uh, they're stacked as it is. Um, but he got his big move to a club that he loves. He's got that big contract. He's a star player. He's a young player, and he's letting it on all unleash. Like, he is finally free to be that superstar. All that all the media circus and of the transfer is gone, and you can kind of see it in the way he's playing. And I think Madrid are going to win La Liga this year simply because Jude Bellingham is going to boss the league. He's already doing it. Um, I just don't know. Barcelona, every time I hear about them, like, yes, they got talent, but the more I hear about it, the more I hear about how I don't want to say it's like a dumpster fire, but it's just
It
so
is.
chaotic. I feel it's just, I don't know. I think dumpster fire is a bit
It's not a.
harsh.
It's close to
It's
it.
close.
It's
Yeah, it's
warming
close.
up.
It's not quite. It's
Trash
like,
cans getting filled.
yeah, they're filling it up. It's a lot of flammable material in there, but they haven't lit the spark yet. um,
I think the only thing stopping
so I
it
think that's
from
what's
actually
gonna, so,
lighting up.
like, it was a surprise. I mean, am I wrong to say it was a surprise that Barcelona even won the league last year? They weren't the best team if you look back.
Ex-
It's just how it ended up in a
yeah,
way.
I feel that. I feel that same way. Like I don't feel like Barcelona was better than Madrid. I don't think Madrid's team, especially last year. I
They
don't
just had the
think it
chips
was.
fall their way.
Yeah, I
They
mean,
did get
yeah.
lucky in some ways. They did like have
And Real
a
Madrid
better,
had
they
Champions
gave
League.
themselves a platform, or not like a platform, a cushion is the word. They gave themselves a cushion. Um, so I don't want to say it's not like Barcelona didn't earn it. I think they definitely earned it, but I don't want to say like it's not like, oh my God, Barcelona, they were totally deserved the title. They were the best team. No questions asked. Let's move on to next year. It almost seemed
Yeah,
like, well, shit, how do they even have that cushion? Like when you'd see the cushion they have, and it's like, oh, Barcelona have the league wrapped up already. It was like, really? Like I
yeah,
remember the
but
first time I heard that because I wasn't paying attention for a few weeks, and they're like, yeah, it's over. Like Barcelona, they pretty much won the league. And then I look, and I'm just like, no fucking way. It just seemed to come out of
yeah,
nowhere. And I feel like this season, especially with Madrid making, I mean, the signing of the year, I think, all all clubs, all leagues, I think Bellingham is going to be the signing of the year when it's all said and done. Um, I think that it's going to catch up to Barca this year, and Madrid's going to run away with it. And I think they're off to a good start already. Um, So it's like I said, I'm not too big on La Liga, so I don't really know too much. I'd probably be pulling. I don't know if I want you to ask me the same question I asked you about relegation because I really would be pulling it out of my ass. Like seriously, I would be just naming fucking teams that I don't know. Um, but at least on the top, that's what I'm thinking. Um, but you have more experience, so I'm sure you can tell me if I'm in the right ballpark and what else you think is going on with La Liga.
okay. So, I don't think Real Madrid's going to run away with it. Real Madrid, at the end of the day, they haven't faced any competition yet.
That's
And I
fair.
think so. I'll start with Real Madrid, and then I'll start with Barcelona, and then I'll talk about it as a whole. So, Real Madrid, yes, Bellingham's playing out of his mind, but also to, I mean, who they played? They played Atletico, they played Almeria, and they played Celta Vigo. Celta Vigo, mid-table team that usually pushes for Champions League, Europa League. So that's a solid win. But they only scored in the 82nd minute. I mean, there was draw. That was literally today. I didn't get a chance to really watch it in depth because I was working, but I kind of saw stuff briefly. But I mean, yeah, these are games that you should win. Obviously, it's Jude Bellingham, so they're going to hype it up a little bit more. But I still want to know the answers to how this Real Madrid team is going to work together in this new formation because of the fact that they don't have a striker, which still
Mhm.
blows my mind that they never
That is
replaced
true.
Benzema.
That is
So the
true.
formation,
They
the
didn't
formation
replace
they've been
Benzema, and
running,
yet they still are the team. I mean, that's wild to me. Like, I still see them as the front runner for the league,
but
and yet you're right.
but
They
but
don't have a
that's the
fucking
thing.
striker.
But that's the reason why I don't know if they're a front runner because I think look, I think Real Madrid's in a
It could
better
catch up to
situation
them,
than
and it
Barca.
probably
I
will.
think I think Real Madrid's in a better situation than Barcelona. I do think because you still have the
I mean,
creativity, and I think Jude Bellingham offers one. But I don't I don't know how well this thing is going to because at the end of the day, Jude Bellingham, yes, he's playing great in the attacking midfield position and the number 10 position, but the dude's not a number 10. He's a central midfielder. He's an 8. He's even said that that's his most comfortable position. He's
yeah,
an 8.
he's an 8.
And you have Rodrigo, and then you have Vinny playing dual forwards. These guys aren't forwards, especially Vinny. Vinny loves to get out wide. I mean, having Benzema there, just the presence of Benzema is one of the biggest reasons why Vinny succeeded. Vinny likes to get wide. He's not a central player. And I think obviously like in my mind, I'm like, man, why didn't just like I understand Real Madrid's holding out for Mbappe. That's why they didn't want to fill that spot with a lot of money. But why not, to me, just get a loan on somebody to fill that striker spot? Because this is a team that's not like Rodrigo and Vinny are not strikers. These guys are out and out true pure wingers. And Jude Bellingham is not an attacking midfielder. He is a eight. He is a central midfielder. And I think it's working now because it's lower level competition. And I think it will continue to work in La Liga personally because I don't think there's going to be a real threat to them. But I'm curious how to see this works in Champions League because I mean, I'm not saying that it can't.
Yeah, I think that's where it's going to be tough.
I think it's going to be an adjustment.
He was helping them a lot in Champions League.
Yeah. And Ancelotti just said that they're not making any more signings in the transfer window. So obviously Real Madrid they're pulling an Inter Miami where they're not signing anybody until Mbappe gets through the door. But to me, I'm like, man, just get a loan just to hold you over. I mean, like I feel like you could, but then again, I mean, obviously Militao's out, so ACL, Courtois out, ACL, Kepa, from what I heard, didn't look so good. I'm going to have to watch the tape. I didn't get the chance to really like see what happened there. I think there's still a lot of question marks for Real Madrid. Like, because how's Kepa going to hold up? How is that back line going to hold up without Militao? Like, how's it going to be without a striker and a number 10? Like, I mean, I don't think Real Madrid is built to have a number 10. I think they're fine with Camavinga, Jude Bellingham, and Valverde. I think those are three creative players. They're not true 10, but like they're creative enough to where you can outlet to the wingers and Rodrigo and Vinny. So I'm curious to see how that goes. As for Barca, I think Barca is in a very vulnerable spot right now. I mean, obviously they just pulled off. They tied against Getafe, and then they won 2-0 against Cadiz, but it wasn't a pretty showing. And the thing with Barca is they didn't make the signings they needed to make. They needed wingers, and they signed no wingers. And then you lose a winger in Dembele. And granted, I know a lot of Barca fans are like, well, Dembele was injured anyways. But like, yes, I get that. Dembele was injury prone. He always is injury prone. He's probably still going to be injury prone at PSG. So maybe it was best to move on from him. But like, let's not deny that Dembele was the best winger on that team. Rafinha is not living up to the hype. Rafinha is not good. And you have no pure left winger. They need a world-class winger. And they need a number 10 to give service to Lewandowski. This system is just not working for Lewandowski. And the one thing I will say that Barca fans understand, and they're not going after Lewandowski, which I'm glad to hear because I think Lewandowski deserves better than that. The dude is just not getting service. He's not getting service. Pedri's not a 10. Barca's in the situation where they have so many central midfielders. They have so many central and defending midfielders. Dude, they have Gudogan. They have fucking De Jong, Pedri, Gavi, Ramu. Like, fuck. I mean, you have so many central midfielders, all these number 8s. Like, sell one of them and bring in a world-class winger because and I know there's talks of Joao Felix coming and Cancelo coming, and I think that's going to be huge because I think that's also a position need is right back because they've been having Araujo and Koundé kind of like switch back and forth between that, even though Koundé's been playing more so central center back. They need a right back, and I think bringing in Cancelo is going to be a huge boost to the right side because I think Balde's been playing really well, replacing Alba on the left side. So I think bringing letting Araujo and Koundé play in their traditional center back positions and then having a Cancelo, a world-class right back. And it looks like he's not going to play at City. He had an amazing year at Bayern. Like, it's a perfect fit. You got to get him. Whatever you can do, get him. And then same thing with Joao Felix. Joao Felix, little hit or miss. He's been kind of like, he had moments of greatness at Chelsea and he obviously played well in the World Cup. But then there's like, he needs to remain consistent. And I think having somebody in front of him like a Lewandowski can really help. And I think it would also help Lewandowski because at the end of the day, like last year, people were like, they're playing Lewandowski like he's a target man. He's not a target man. This is a guy who's had Muller behind him.
Forward.
This is a guy who's had Muller behind him almost his entire career. And yeah, he doesn't have the physicality and the speed anymore, but he still has the technical ability. And if you can give him service, you can. I just don't know with
he's probably
Xavi's
has the
tactics.
best not finishing. He has the best positioning of any striker I've ever seen. So,
Yeah.
but I
And
mean,
I
people
do
would argue
think,
that, but I think he's the best. He's the best positional striker in history. I think.
and I think Gudigan has been a great pickup. I think he's awesome.
Oh,
He brings a veteran presence.
I've
He's a
always
great
loved him.
replacement.
I've
He's been a,
always rated him.
yeah, and I think he's been a great replacement for Busquets now that Busquets is no longer here. So, but you still getting that issue where you need a left winger. I think if you're going to bring in a guy like Lewandowski, you got to be a 10. You can't run a 4-3-3 with him. I think you got to be a 4-2-3-1. And I know that's not really the wave in the top 5 leagues too much anymore. And I know Barca hasn't done it so much, but I think that's the way you got to go. I think these central midfielders have proved time and time again that they do not have creativity. And you need to bring in a guy, attacking midfielder, who can bring creativity. And I think Joao Felix is that perfect guy. Obviously, Atletico Madrid doesn't want him. They want to move on from him and sell him and get the money. Just do it. You know what I mean? You still get the glaring issue of what do you do with the left wing position? So you might have to switch to a 4-4-2, and maybe that could work. I think that would probably be your best bet until you're able to get a left winger. It's like if you can get a back four, run a 4-4-2 diamond. I mean, because to me, my top midfielders, I want Gudigan in there. I want De Jong in there. Pedri, and then you have Joao Felix at the top. And then you run Rafinha and what's it called? Lewandowski, even though I'm just not high on Rafinha, but I think the biggest issue with this team is wingers and a playmaker. Obviously right back, but I think they're gonna get that Cancelo. But yeah, I think La Liga as a whole, I don't know who's gonna win this because I don't feel like no team is strong in there. I think Real Madrid has its issues.
They have you do make a good point.
They don't have a striker.
You make a very good point about Madrid. It is tough. I mean, I think based on last season, yeah, I know it's tough now because that is a great point. Not having Benzema and just not signing any striker definitely makes you think about it. I think I would still pick Madrid. I think
if I had to pick, I'm gonna go Madrid. I think Madrid's definitely going to make it farther in Champions League, 100%. But I mean, you never know. Like the thing is, the problem with Madrid, and this is what happened last year, is like they lose games they should win in league play. They lose these random games against these like random team, like these low club teams, like,
and then they play like El Clasico at Barcelona and they thrash them.
Win. And then they win Champions League.
Yeah, that I know. Yeah, that I've seen.
And that's the problem. But Barca, and the reason why they won last year is they're winning games that they should win. And really that's what it comes down to the league race in La Liga. It's like win the games you should win. And that's why I don't know. I think it's open in the air. I want to say though, I'm going to lean towards Madrid because I feel like even though with the issues they have, they're a little bit more complete than Barca.
Yeah,
is.
That's what I'm thinking too.
And you know the sad thing is that this is a perfect opportunity for Atletico, but Atletico, they're kind of all over the place too right now.
Yeah.
But I think Atletico can compete, though. I will say that. I think Atletico
I think they definitely compete, but there's definitely a reason I didn't mention them this time around.
And it's like, dude, this is the perfect opportunity for Atletico to take advantage, get to. But I think they're going to compete. Obviously, Atletico is always a perennial third, but I think they're going to compete. I think it's going to be close. I think it might be pretty damn close. As for that fourth spot, I don't know. I think it could be pretty open. I think everything's kind of soon. I feel like everybody's kind of drawn and beat everybody. No one's looked super dominant.
Well, I mean, Valencia had a good start to the season.
They had a good start, but Valencia played very weak opposition. I mean, you want to talk about a surprise relegation team that might happen? You want to talk about the Everton of La Liga right now? Is Sevilla. Sevilla might.
I've heard
Sevilla
stuff.
is going through a shit show. Obviously, Sevilla just recently announced that they have to get rid of everybody. Europa League champions. They're playing in Champions League, man.
It's fucking insane.
And
it's crazy. That is crazy.
They're going to get absolutely obliterated. Obviously, I don't know if you just saw Nottingham Forest just signed Gonzalo Montiel from Sevilla. So And that just proves that Sevilla's just trying to like clean. They got to, I guess they have financial issues. I don't know too much in depth about what's happening there, but they got to get rid of everybody. And it sucks to see like this team just, that Sevilla was a really good team last year. They went all in on Europa League. They won it. They qualified for Champions League through there. And now they're just going to get thrashed in Champions League because they have to get rid of literally everybody.
Yeah,
so,
that's a very interesting point. That's gonna be cool to see how that turns out.
And then if Sevilla ends up getting relegated after being in the Champions League this season, that'd be insane. I don't think they will, because at the end of the day, it's Sevilla. But like, they're looking like an Everton right now, like with no bright spot at all. Like it's looking hella sketchy. I mean, there's talks of Bono leaving, which is obviously their star freaking keeper. So I don't know. It's going to be pretty interesting.
Yeah,
but,
we'll definitely talk more about it.
I'm curious to see what, and then I think, and then I'll end it here with Valencia. I think Valencia is entering a new era. I mean, they got a bunch of young cats over there, and I'm curious to see how they perform. Like I said, right now they've won their first 2 games, but it was pretty easy competition. I mean, Sevilla was a big win, but I can't really rate Sevilla anymore because of what's happened and what's gone down. So I think La Liga is going to be pretty damn interesting, I will say, unless something drastic happens in the wintertime. But yeah. Well,
that's a good place to end it. Exactly 2 hours of footy talk.
Longest episode yet.
Crazy.
But we had to catch up on a lot of stuff.
Yeah, we gotta stop taking breaks. I'll tell my work to stop sending me on 2-week trips, just for you guys.
Yeah, but I think we got a lot of content, man.
Yes, sir.
A lot of content. But I want to thank everybody for listening. If you made it to the end, that is absolutely awesome. You guys are legends, and if you do, let us know. But yeah, if you guys haven't done so already, follow us on all our platforms. Adam's on the threads. Adam is controlling all the threads. So if you're on threads and you're watching, Adam's over there, and then obviously all the other guys are on the other stuff. But
I try my best to repost, but it looks like a lot of the teams that I want to repost, they seem to post on threads like everything in one day, and then they're gone for 2 weeks. So I couldn't really repost Inter Miami stuff because I looked and it was like, 2 weeks ago, and yet they just won a Leagues Cup. Put some stuff on threads, man. Give me content to give you content.
Yeah, but I don't know. Maybe we'll transition Adam to Twitter. We'll see. But we'll put him on the transfer market. But we'll catch you guys in the next one. Like I said, if you guys want to hear the audio versions, you guys are watching this, we're available on all podcast platforms. But we will see you guys next week. Peace out, everybody.